What are RMPRs? Risk mitigation prevention rooms. I believe that risk mitigation prevention rooms could be highly successful in helping to, in certain cases, mitigate, as is in the title, and in other cases, entirely prevent unnecessary injury, whether it be emotional, psychological, or physical injury, whether it be minor to lethal, fatal injury, which cannot be restored, of course, when it comes to the welfare and health of young persons. Currently, there are at least 2 outrageous incidences that are recent that have happened in my area where young persons have either been molested by other people or they have died. So that is 2 very recent situations. I believe that RMPRs, risk mitigation protection rooms, should be in every school in the United States of America. And perhaps in certain schools, because I know that crime can be very low, extremely low in certain schools. If a school proves to have a crime rate that is extremely low, if they prove to have, after being assessed formally, to have a school system where authorities do not have to come onto the property, where molestations have not been reported for at least 3 years, authorities have not had to come to the property for at least 3 years, and where there are no outrageous or outstanding complaints that necessitate child protective services, no outstanding complaints that have to involve the court system or the juvenile system in any type of capacity. In these cases, at least when it comes to child welfare and well-being, in these cases, it makes sense for that school to not have to be under the burden of this new implementation. But I do believe that while many Americans pride themselves on the accessibility of education in the United States of America, as well as they pride themselves in the school that their child is currently going to, I believe that this is sometimes a barrier to achieving greater success when it comes to increasing the betterment of the school systems in the United States of America and child welfare outcomes. Sometimes we can have a blind spot and we do not see necessarily how things can be greatly improved to, once again, both mitigate and prevent these issues from reoccurring. So what would it look like potentially? These rooms should be in school systems that are not able to meet this assessment burden, and it should be directly tied to the funding. These rooms need to be able to hold a percentage, so they need to be large or plenteous enough where they can hold a certain portion, a fraction of every classroom in that school. So this room could be the size of a small auditorium, depending upon the populace of the school that is the focus. So it would be the size of a tiny office if the school is very small, which makes perfect sense. That would also be in keeping with the proportionality rule. However, if the school is very large, it makes sense that perhaps it could be the size of a large auditorium. However, and I'm going to give myself some grace because I realize that that is indeed not what I want. I want more than one room. I want more than one room in the case where the school is very large. So let me make it myself more clear. Let me bring more clarity to this because I understand that I just misspoke. So there are situations where I just said that the requirement should be that for every classroom on that property, there should be space, a RMPR for at least a fraction of every single classroom. So presumably if there are 10 classrooms, that is going to be a RMPR that is considerably smaller than a building that has that gives education to over 300 students. There's going to be more RMPRs needed. I believe that this would be best implemented. I'm proceeding to correct what I just said, so please listen carefully. Thank you for your patience. This would be best implemented if these rooms are small. The reason why these rooms should be small is because if the whole point is to pull at-risk students outside of larger classrooms so that you can give better educational access and assessments, as well as address any additional issues that might be needed, then it would make sense that you are in a scenario where you pull them from a larger scenario and bring them into a smaller scenario where that more focused attention and diligence can be delivered to the needs of each child. Presumably they're being taken out of a space and a larger space where either the system is not meeting its burden of taking care of the educational needs, the welfare needs of this child or this young person, because it can extend all the way from 0 to 12, but they're either not doing that. And I can understand how in a world where this is a real world and the implementation will involve personalities and perhaps egos, where it might be somewhat difficult to implement such a program because you might be offending some people. The well-being of every child in the United States of America is more important to me than the feelings of individuals that are working with those children. So you're pulling the child from a situation, from a larger space where they are not able to get such individualized and focused, diligent meeting of those needs, into a smaller space, because if you pull them into a equally large space with perhaps the same amount of children, then it is defeating the purpose of part of the problem solution scenario. So you're pulling them out of that larger space also so that you can give them relief from situations in which there is a attempt, or maybe not, to quell gang issues, etc., bullying and harassment, things that ought not be taking place, but it has been determined, the determination has been made that this child, this young person, is at high risk, and they need to be pulled from the larger space and into a small, more individualized space where they can receive all that their parents should want for the child, and all that the child needs and deserves, and all their needs, educational, etc., can be met in this smaller space where their attention is also paid to their security. When children go to school, I'm of the firm belief that when any child in the United States of America goes to school, the question of their welfare and well-being and the provisions for everything that is within reason for their needs is no longer on the parent for the space of the time where the child is in the care, presumably, of the school system. It no longer is on the shoulders of the parent, but the school system takes that burden upon themselves. And I feel as though it has been determined by simply common sense that the school system is either unwilling to meet that or they are not able to. I think in many cases they are certainly not able to, because common sense solutions are not being provided. Funding is not being provided for relief for situations in which they would like to mitigate issues, especially issues that are escalating quickly, and they're simply not. But nonetheless, regardless of why they are not meeting the child's needs, regardless of why they are not meeting the teenager's needs, the fact is that when the student, whether it be a young teenager or whether it be a young child, the burden of responsibility is not being met by anybody. It cannot be met by the parent, because the parent is not on the school grounds and property, and that is not the purview of the parent while the child is presumably in the care of the school system. However, if the school system also has custody of the child during those educational hours, but yet is unable to meet these basic fundamental needs of every single child in the United States of America, then more needs to be done in order to curtail the growing and escalating and horrendous problems that are continuing to incubate in these school systems. So it would look like pulling the first, you see a situation in which perhaps the social worker overhears something in the hallway, or a student can go to the social worker and tell them firsthand with anonymity the situation that is developing, okay? And it may very well be that after perhaps there is some outreach by the principal, by the parents, and sometimes in in situations where the law is being broken and it seems like there is no other recourse, perhaps also the authorities, unfortunately. I am hesitant about that, because that is unfortunately, I'm going to speak very candidly, very bluntly, okay? I'm sorry if it hurts anyone's feelings, but many times I have observed that when a child does something, when a young person or a child does something that is extremely ill-willed, that is criminal, that is highly illegal, that is unacceptable in some way, then the American public, they do adjudicate quite quickly, throw the book at the young person, throw the book at them. What they did is horrendous, and it is obvious that what they did was horrendously wrong. I mean, that is obvious. However, I believe that this is coming from the same group of people. I, being one, I consider myself responsible for every child in the United States of America. That's why I'm speaking up. So I am proud in that number, because I am an adult citizen of the United States of America, and so I should speak on behalf of the American children who are my neighbor, and that is what I'm doing. And I am in that group of people, except I do not quickly voice to throw away the children, but without also trying to solve the issues, because I see a pattern, and I believe it is etching away at the character of the adult in the United States of America. And just because a behavior is acceptable, just because a behavior is insidious, meaning it's hard to see that in one's own community, it's hard to see that in a space of people. So many people, they're simply mirroring what the other person has commented, mirroring what the other person has said, mirroring the thoughts that the other person, and on its face, it's not necessarily wrong. On its face, it's certainly not necessarily foul to not want justice, but underlying the character of every man and every woman in the United States of America who is not intentional about their character is at high risk, in my opinion. And I will speak boldly, because I am a watcher that is highly, highly accurate. If I simply desire for these young persons, once they commit crimes, after they have been mishandled, I will say that again, after they have been mishandled by society, after people like me have made clear and abundant warnings continuously, after they have been psychologically abused, medically abused by this society, after they have been horrendously mishandled, after they have not been given appropriate supervision, after they have not been given decent spaces and places that are kept well and maintained well, places that they can be proud of in order to receive that education. after these things occur, then simply throwing all of the responsibility on America's youth, but they're doing it out of some type of void. There's nothing causing it. There's no causation. They were just born evil. They literally just arrived on Earthside yesterday. They're 12, they're 10, they're 13, they're 16, they're 17. But they were born evil. They were not horrendously mishandled. We did not fail to provide security. We did not fail to provide instruction. We did not fail to provide supervision. We did not fail to voice that certain things are right and certain things are wrong, and certain behaviors are not acceptable in our presence and on our property. And we did not back that up with both action and consequence like an adult is supposed to do. And then once they do something, which typically is something stupid, once they do something stupid, then their life is thrown away. Do you not believe that God, because certainly God sees the full picture, the God of heaven knows if each one of us is lazy concerning these young persons? Do not care. Because can you not see how someone could completely not care at all and simply agree that to throw every young person that does something foul into the criminal system? And I'm not saying that I am more acquainted than you would know. But let's just stick to these facts. Can you not see how someone completely does not care, including the devil himself? The devil, let's pretend the devil has entered the chat room, because actually he's been in the chat room. The devil has entered chat. There's a green circle above his name, and it says Beelzebub. He's in the chat. And he would like to agree with every United States American adult that says throw the book at him and throw the book at him and bury them. I will tell you this, and it's dangerous and it is uncomfortable, and maybe it makes you angry at me or offended, but it's a question you need to ask yourself. Why would the devil agree with you? And does that put not a little bit of fear in your heart? Not the bad kind of fear, the good kind of fear, the respect, reverence, that perhaps all of us, before we make an adjudication, when we make an adjudication, it should come from a standard of righteousness. What's the standard of righteousness? I ministered about it yesterday. We're supposed to seek toward the peace of our neighbor. And that is what I'm doing with these RPMR rooms. These RMPR rooms. These risk mitigation prevention rooms. So it is a simple concept. It is a simple concept in which there is an assessment, a mathematical assessment. Has the school had these problems in the space of 3 years? Does the school have outstanding complaints and issues? If they have not had this, because I know there's some schools that might be so peaceful, they just haven't had it, and they don't need it. And frankly, if you have been doing well, because I'm a firm believer in common sense. What I'm not a firm believer of is shying away from the truth, because some people, including powerful people, including people who will voice their voice when they are angry enough and offended enough. But that's the only time they will speak. But they won't speak when someone else needs them to speak, because they're dying, because their child is dying. And I would rather you be angry with me. And if it's a certain amount of chance that maybe one day you might care and give a damn about somebody else's child, then I'm okay with you being angry with me temporarily, if it makes you go to sleep at night thinking that maybe I have a point. Because even if you don't have a child one day, guess what? Most people do. Most people eventually have a child. And then some people, when they have that child, not everybody, they actually give a damn about that child. And you would want to be in a community of adults that give a damn about your child. So this is simple mathematics. If a place is doing well and if they should not have this on them. They don't need it. You don't need it until you need it. And let's not be fake, because I'm not for the fake. Some of these schools, they desperately need it. And the crap needs to be cut for the sake of the children. Offend some adults for the sake and well-being of many children. Perhaps they won't have to go to jail. Perhaps there'll be less numbers having to go to jail, and throw the book at them, because guess who agrees with you wholeheartedly? But you can't be lazy, spiritually or mentally. Ask yourself why the devil himself is wholeheartedly agreeing with you. Why would he do that? Because he wants them to go to hell. And guess what? He wants to take you along with him. You may not commit the crime they commit, but do you know that hating your neighbor is a crime? You know, not giving a damn about your neighbor's child is a crime? Do you know that someone telling you the children are suffering unnecessarily, that crimes are being committed that are not being reported, that you can't, and there's classrooms where supervision cannot be appropriately rendered in high-risk situations, and that child has no space and place to go in one of the most richest countries in the world, and we will be held responsible for that. And you should give a damn about it. So these places that there's school systems that need it immediately, and I feel as though I'm a firm believer, and I hope that you bring this up in your parent-teacher conferences. I hope you bring this up to your senators and everybody else who makes decisions. I hope you bring this up, and I hope you are loud about it. I hope that you shout it and put this in their ears. This is going to cost a lot of money, but I have been suspicious a lot of times. Women, I'm going to be very frank with you. I'm going to be very frank with you. Have you heard about Esther? Have you heard about Esther? Do you know why she's so famous? Why she's so famous in the Bible? Because how are you sleeping with these men? I'm going to be very frank with you. Pardon if you're offended. How are you sleeping with these powerful men, and you don't put in their ears like Esther did to take better care of the children? How are you doing that? How do you sleep at night not doing it? How do you sleep at night being powerful, to have this powerful man next to you, and you don't give a damn to say something to help America's children? Like Esther, she was not a selfish hoe. She was not completely just useless. I think people forget that. She wasn't there just for herself. God literally handpicked her for such a time as that, so that she could speak up for her people in the ear of someone who gave her favor, because she was handpicked specifically by God himself, because he knew this pretty girl will speak up for my people. Otherwise, she would have been useless. He could have just stayed with Vashti. Let's be 100. So, this is a mathematical, it will require that a extension be built on many of these schools. But I didn't make the problem. I'm just trying to solve the problem. And no school should be built without these rooms. According to the number of students, there's already programs and laws like this in place. According to the number of students that is expected to be in that building, there should be RMPR rooms. Rooms in which all of the materials, now how exactly that would look, well, we have modern technology. We have everything we need. It is not a matter of can it be done. It's a matter of do people give a damn enough for it to be done. And frankly, will I feel some type of way if it is not done? I absolutely will. Even with my children, guess what? I care so much. I love and care so much about America's children that even when my children are no longer needing homeschooling because they're adults, I'm going to still feel some type of way. I'm going to be pissed. If I still see America's children suffering the way that they are currently suffering, I'm going to feel some type of way because it is so unnecessary. It's so economically stingy. I mean, it's your children. It's our children. It's economically stingy. I mean, who doesn't spend on their own children? That's just what kind of nation doesn't spend money on its own future? That's so trifling. And then it is lazy. It's mentally, emotionally lazy. You have students who they say, well, we could never know. Ask one of the observant students. In every school, there's at least one. It's a damn shame. Pardon. It's a crying shame that the social worker is completely clueless, the teacher is completely clueless, and the sixth grader knows the tea on everything and could tell you exactly who needs to be in the rooms and who potentially might need to be locked up. And it also is helpful to the persons who are supposed to be supervising and providing the care. Because sometimes it's so much, I can imagine just logistically, it's so much easier if you can split them up. Just realistically. Y'all, I feel people treat my channel as if I'm an idiot. If you can split them up, then it gives you easier, because I used to work with children, it will make it easier for you to cause, at least you can stop a situation immediately by splitting them up and making physical distance. But you can't do that in the current situation. You have a very dangerous situation, and you want everybody, by onus of just social contract, to not say anything. But it is time for people to start saying something, because you are overwhelmed and you can't do it. So these rooms need to be a thing, and no school should be built in the United States of America that cannot give implementation of these rooms. If it is built on American soil and it does not have these rooms, it should be shut down, and it cannot host students until these rooms are implemented. It should be in the legal rating and mandate, just like fire alarms. Because your schools are on fire and you're too silly to acknowledge it. Chuck the social contract. If your school is burning down, it's burning down, and you need to address it immediately. So I'm sorry if anybody's feelings are hurt or whatever, but we got to do better concerning America's children. Thank you so much. Bye.